Hello everyone, hope you are doing well. We will be continuing our series today by covering chapter 6 from the book Java Precisely by Peter Sestoft. The rest of chapter 5 covered types, specifically subtypes. And that is the idea that a type can have a parent type where it inherits most of its characteristics from that parent type. So as an example, a class that implements an interface is a subtype of that interface. Chapter 5 also went over type conversions, which is the idea of converting from one type to another. So converting from an integer value to a string value, for example. Those are all cool, but that is not enough to make a separate video. So we will be moving on to chapter 6. So without further ado, let's just get started. Chapter 6 starts by covering fundamental definitions and concepts you must know before you code. It defines what a variable is, which is basically a container that holds a value. I call it a container because it reserves space in memory and can hold values which can sometimes change. Variables, when defined in a scope, cannot be used outside of that scope. This means you cannot define a variable in another class and use it directly in a different one. This also applies to the scopes of loops. A variable cannot be defined inside of a for loop and used outside of that for loop. Note that scopes are mostly defined by open and closing curly braces in code. Besides variables, another concept covered in chapter 6 was parameters. A parameter is a special kind of variable. This is the list of variables a method or function need in order to fully perform its intended operation. So, as an example, this method has these parameters, and it needs them in order to tell you if an array has more even numbers or odd numbers. The values inside of these variables that are passed into these methods are preserved. So whatever happens inside of the function, it does not affect the original value of the variable. This is because Java is passed by value, meaning a copy of the value inside of the variable is made and passed into these methods. The last concept covered in this chapter is field. A field is a variable declared inside of a class. It belongs to that class. Note that it is a variable declared in the scope of the class and not inside a method inside of the class. Because of this, this variable can be accessed anywhere inside of the class. The general rule for scopes is that outside can come inside, but inside cannot go outside. Okay, we will end this here and pick it up in the next episode. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.